Hello, my sunrise. Welcome to today's episode of A Message to Lightworkers. Today we have Billie Walters. She has practiced as a clinical therapist for over 6 years, working in various settings to help individuals realize personal growth. And over this time frame, she has explored areas of healing that transcends traditional therapy modalities. Billie has studied core shamanism and has trained in shamanic healing techniques. She's also a Reiki practitioner and continues to work on new ways of bridging her clinical experience and training with the energetic work she feels called to practice. Since spirituality is a key component to our overall being, Billie believes that it is important for individuals to explore their spirituality. Billie approaches spirituality with an open mind and is available for guidance and spiritual counsel. I will leave all of her information in the info box that you will be able to access once you're here listening to this podcast. Welcome, Billie.
Hi.
Hi, good to have you.
Good. It's great, really great to be here. Thank you so much.
So just for our listeners, let's kind of break down exactly what is core shamanism and what is Reiki, and then also how does that intertwine with your clinical practice, because it's kind of like a lot that you're doing in like one focused therapy. So can you kind of explain a little bit more about what you do and how you kind of fuse it all together?
Yes, definitely. So I guess I'll start at the beginning. I started with like traditional mental health therapy, becoming a clinical social worker. So learning different mental health modalities. You learn about cognitive behavioral health. One of the things that really stuck out to me was mindfulness, and using that practice. And it really resonated with me because it was stepping away from the traditional, more text-focused therapies. So, and it was really encompassing that holistic mind, body, spirit that we are, right? So, along the course of that, I kind of knew that I wanted to do a little bit more. I heard about Reiki, and I was like, "Wow, this sounds fascinating. I want to learn more." And so in learning about Reiki, which the key in Reiki is like ki, chi, prana, that life force energy that surrounds us all. Some people call it the ether. There are a lot of different words for it, but it's all the same. And we have the life force energy within us as well. And so the practice of Reiki is a Reiki practitioner is attuned by a Reiki master, and you use symbols to, basically like call in the sacredness of the space before you practice. And you then are a conduit as a practitioner for the energy to come through you to the individual. And it can be done in person, and it's done with either no touch or very light touch. And there are different hand positions that you use. And we have different energy parts to our body. We have, our aura or our outer, energy body. We have our chakras or chakras, depending on how you pronounce it, which are the different energy centers. Some people call them the wheels of light, that are that could run along, kind of like our spine, our mane up and down. And we have meridians that are energetic points that, and those are talked about in, Eastern medicine, ancient Chinese medicine, acupuncture, acupressure. So we have all of these energy parts to us. And so as a Reiki practitioner, the energy comes through you to the individual, and it can be done in person or even distance. So I could, send Reiki to someone who's in another room, another state, another country. You can send Reiki to plants and animals, to your food, just to, give it that energy, help it. Sometimes we get stuck energy. There's blockages. And so once I, learned about that, and I decided that I was ready for my attunement, um, I'm trying to remember how the timelines played out. I think before I even went through and actually went through with my attunement, I started um, to have interest in shamanism. And core shamanism um, is essentially looking at the. Oh, go ahead.
I do have a question before you continue. So you're saying,
Hmm.
just to be clear, Reiki is a healing etheric energy that you can send, correct?
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
And so this would be kind of, people would think that this is some similar to like prayer. Would that be similar, would you
Definitely.
say?
I would definitely say that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So healing energy is the energy that you're sending, and you send it through symbols. And you can send it either when you're in the room with a person or distance.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear. Okay, and then you
Yeah.
said shamanism.
So core shamanism, I know that I included like a definition, and I'm not going to be able to recite the definition.
I
Okay,
have it.
sure.
You wrote core shamanism consists of the universal, near universal, and common features of shamanism, together with journeys to other worlds. A distinguishing feature of shamanism, as originated, researched, and developed by Michael Harner, the principles of core shamanism are not bound to any specific culture, group, or perspective. So, from reading that, what I'm understanding is shamanism is usually um, specific to culture or region or perspective. Core
Hmm.
shamanism, now based on this definition, is just shamanism, just no matter who you are, where you're at, it's like you can practice this because it's just the baseline of shamanism. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. And from there, individuals can take it further. It's kind of maybe a 101. And so some of the main one of the main players in core shamanism is Sandra Ingerman, and she has a lot of books out there on soul retrieval, a book of ceremony, and she speaks a lot about core shamanism. Um, so when I kind of came into learning about core shamanism, and I trained actually over in Lansing and Ann Arbor um, with a group with these two women, and of course it's escaping me. Spirit weavers, that's who it is. Spirit weavers. It was a really great experience. First, I just wanted to learn how to journey. Um, so I did that, and then I wanted to go further. And essentially, once I, got some things under my belt, I decided to learn shamanic healing techniques, such as, drum healing, rattle healing, and soul retrieval. And so this is the thing where, like you mentioned, Reiki is like prayer. Well, with shamanism, one of the things that they say is, as a shamanic practitioner, you are a hollow bone. So again, you're just that conduit for that energy. And so in tying all of this together, one of the last trainings that I did was actually in EMDR therapy, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a evidence-based therapy for healing trauma. One of the things that I noticed when I was in that training is that it seemed a lot like soul retrieval work,
Mhm.
and which the shamanic reminded me of the Reiki. And so I just um, I thought, we do this. We package something up a little differently, um, and we want to sell it, as something else. Why not just bring it all together? And so one of the things that I do here is holistic hybrid therapy. And that is a combination of like traditional talk therapy with the energetic piece too. And that could include, soul retrieval work. The thing about shamanism, like shamanic journeying and EMDR therapy, is that both work because your brain goes into a theta state. So you're accessing that same energetic field. And so I feel like that's kind of one of the common threads.
Nice. I think you explained that really beautifully.
Thank you.
That's awesome. And then one more thing, if you could clarify for listeners, what exactly is journeying? You said something about shamanic journey.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is?
Yes. So when you had read the definition of core shamanism, it talked about, visiting different worlds. And so shamanism, you have the upper world, the lower world, and the middle world, which is where we exist right here. And so when a shaman journeys, they will journey to the upper world to meet with teachers and guides, to gain insight. When you journey to the lower world, that's where you connect with power animals and as plant and nature essence, basically. And so in doing that, you can learn more about like your power animals, those spirits that are walking with you, even though like we don't see them. When you journey to the upper world, you can meet some teachers and guides, and so you know who to connect with when you're doing healing work.
Nice. So that's really cool. And I think that, like you said, it's really nice that you're able to blend and kind of weave it all together in that sense, where you kind of notice the similarities. If you could recommend any book or books to other people kind of looking for more information, what book would that be and why?
So the number one book that I recommend to clients, friends, anyone who even hints at the fact that they might be spiritual seeking, is The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Florence Scovel Shinn was a metaphysician in the 1920s, and so this book was written in the 1920s. She quotes scripture, and then she tells you how to apply that in it's kind of like the Bible meets the law of attraction. And although it was written so long ago, it's still very relevant. And I often, if I'm listening to the audio version, and it's so accessible because it's in the public domain, because it's so old. But it's, in listening to it, it feels like it could be written today. So that's definitely number one. And then she also has others, like The Magic Path of Intuition. If you just look up her works, all of them are good. They're full of affirmations. They get you paying attention to how you speak and the words that we use, because they're so powerful. So that is usually the first book that I recommend to anyone, because I feel like it does a really good job of helping us become more aware of the power we actually have in co-creating our own lives.
Mm-hmm. I think there's really two significant things I like to point out there, is the fact that it was written in 1920 and she's a woman. And secondly, that healing work is healing work. I think those are really two interesting topics today that I'm really sensing, is that healing is healing, and no matter if you're healing from trauma, it seems like a lot of modalities, like you said, even though they're so far away, different parts of the world, shamanism is practiced in many different ways, therapy is practiced in different ways. But when someone's actually going through that mental, emotional, spiritual healing, it's we're all kind of going through that same thing, which is that peeling away understanding of our true divinity, our true essence. Yes. I think that's really neat, just to point out, even if you're practicing different modalities, just like you said, you're practicing different modalities, but you're still getting to this same essential kind of thing, common thread. Definitely. And then the second thing is the fact that she wrote it in 1920. So if you think back in 1920s, like there weren't a lot of women kind of taking the forefront of many things, except for maybe like the feminist movement, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she was able to write such inspiring work that even today we're talking about in 2020, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And she had a voice, you know, and I just kind of think, where's her spirit now? I wonder if she's like reincarnated or something else, you know, and mine kind of goes there. But
Yeah.
that's a funny note to mention. Um, and I guess another question would be now, because you're really on this path, you know, and tying things together yourself. And what is the best investment that you ever made, whether that be time, books, reading, spending money? What was the best investment you ever made energetically?
I would have to say that it's been the investment in myself. And what I mean by that is in my education, whether it be formal education, workshops, trainings, any of that I, have attended, or books, right? And my own healing.
Mhm.
So, I am I'm very blessed to have a lot of friends and like kindred souls to spend time with, who I've met along my path, who are also practitioners of different energy modalities or different healing, even massage, chiropractic. One of the places like where I physically practice my energy work here, the ladies that are the owners here at Sage Moon are amazing. One is a psychic medium, interfaith minister. The other is also a clinical social worker like myself, but she's a Reiki master and does hypnotherapy, which that's something I don't do, but I absolutely support 100%. So like investing that time and energy into having a hypno session, or having a reading, having a massage, cupping, energy work of my own, and all of that. So I would say that's probably been the best investment. It's just like we all deserve to invest in ourselves.
And then it sounds like also just surrounding yourself with people that can like help you move forward or learn new things maybe.
Definitely.
And what event took place that had the biggest impact on your spiritual journey? And what did you learn?
I would have to say that the catalyst for me was the death of my brother. He was 25 and I was 23. And it just kind of set in motion a decade long spiral. I mean, that would have to be like, my dark night of the soul. And it lasted for 10 years of being confused, acting out, just, at first feeling, well, I must, like, God wouldn't take both of my parents' kids. So I was pretty reckless for a little while. Um, Obviously, that's very flawed thinking, and it's not true. So it just took this decade of just feeling lost to finally come back around. And I remember being connected with um, a man who was a psychic medium from the UK. And we talked on the phone and we became really good friends. And we were talking. And then, like in the midst of that friendship, I remember having a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just laying on the couch. I lived with my parents at the time, because I'd gotten divorced and like lost my house. Like I'm telling you, that decade was really hard. But so I was taking a nap and I had a dream, and in the dream in walks my grandfather who had passed, and he looked very radiant and somewhat youthful, and we communicated telepathically in my dream. And I had all these questions like, why, like, why does this stuff happen, and why does things happen to me? And um I remember looking at him, and his eyes were very blue, and in my mind I'm asking him, well, why, like, why does this stuff happen? And he just looked at me and smiled, and I said, oh, I don't need to know why, because when I'm where you are, I'll have all the answers I need. So I don't have to worry about the why. I just just go live, just go experience things, and don't stress about that part, because eventually you figure things out. So from that moment, that's when I enrolled in grad school and really started on this journey um, of getting back in, getting myself whole again, I guess is the best way to describe that.
Awesome. And I guess this kind of goes into with the next question. And if you could kind of like give more of like your exact feeling, at what point did you know, like, did you exactly know, like, what was that thing that happened for you in your mind, that switch that turned on that said, this is my path and I need to go full force and like follow my calling?
So um, that actually took quite a while later, because I'm an Enneagram 9, which is a peacekeeper. I am a people pleaser, don't like to make waves. So um, it was very interesting. It was just knowing that there's more I want to do. And, it's been challenging, because if you, like, we've all grown up knowing about like how people have been cast out for thinking differently or believing differently. And so it's like, being a clinical therapist is a very safe, evidence-based, it's very safe. People like, oh yeah, you got a piece of paper, you, of course, let me give you money and tell you all my problems, right? Like, I can open up to you. So it took knowing that I'm more than that, and I have more than that to offer. And there's like, my real mission here is so much bigger than that, that I just I know I kind of had talked to you a little bit before about learning my human design. I'm not an expert in human design. I don't know, like, if anyone is interested in learning their human design, I highly recommend, you can find it out for free if you Google, human design chart, right? And there are plenty of knowledgeable people out there who can help you decipher what the chart means. But for me, it was learning that my human design is manifester. And what that means is that a manifester goes out and does things, like, you start things. And I had spent a long time sitting in the corner waiting for permission, waiting for somebody to say, okay, now you can do it. Or, okay, yep, okay, we're calling you up now, it's your turn. And um, like, even after realizing that, it still took me a while because of my conditioning and my comfort level. And finally, I would say that it's been mostly during this pandemic that I've really stretched myself and said, no, this is me. This is what I do. This is what I'm passionate about. And I feel like just kind of gathering all of these puzzle pieces and putting them together, I'm really only scratching the surface of where I'm really going to go with this, because I have a lot that I want to do and learn with quantum physics and healing, using quantum physics as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I don't think you're the only one. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of waking up to like their true calling with all the quiet time. When everything's shut down,
Yeah.
nothing to do. You have nothing but to kind of start asking yourself questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really neat that we're kind of all going through this together,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What is one lie that you've lived by in the past that you have overcome or attempting to overcome?
That would be like that I'm not as good as everybody else. It I would have to say that's it. And I know from, the work I do as a therapist, that's probably, like, if not the number one thing that we all struggle with, it's up there, right in the top 5. Not feeling worthy, right? But that's it, because you learn something, but then you see somebody else doing it, and you're like, wow, they're really good. I don't know if I could be that good. Or, so it's and it's an ego struggle for sure. But I would say that's probably the thing, is like, you're not going to be good enough if you do it or whatever.
Yeah. So what would you tell a struggling light worker to remember as they are attempting to follow their path?
Um, be gentle with yourself, be gracious, because there are these moments where we feel really, like when I'm working with clients, and I have some therapy clients that are really in tune with the like their spiritual side, and we talk about synchronicities and things, and like there are days where we are in tune and we're connected to the magic of the world, right? We get all green lights, like we feel like we are living the charmed life that we know can exist for us. Then there's going to be days where you don't want to get out of bed, and something happened and it hurt our feelings, and we're just stuck in feeling depressed. And that's okay, because we have to remember, even though we are light workers and we are called to do these things, we're still human beings. So we are still connected to our ego, and that's just it. Like, we can fade our ego, and obviously, we want to operate from a higher place, but we are human beings. And so just be gentle with yourself.
Mhm. Awesome. And what would you, if you could assign one I am affirmation to everyone on the planet, what would that be?
Um, it would be, I am worthy of love and I deserve to follow my dreams.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much for being our guest today on A Message to Lightworkers.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Perfect. Again, if you'd like to follow or contact Billie Walters, I will be leaving her information in the info box. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.